Do it. Do it.
Let's do it.
Do it. Do it. Do it. My sweetie, do it.
Okay.
Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Do it.
Welcome to NBNR, the authority on unfiltered opinions and authentic player insight for Nebraska athletics. Connect with us on Twitter, Instagram, and at NBNRpodcast.com.
We have the saying, no block, no rock.
You know, we just really love Utter. He's a junkyard dog.
Kenny Bell ran up to me. He's like, you know what you just did?
Get mad when you go get in the portal and go to another podcast?
You know, usually dumbbells are in pairs. They had 5 dumbbells.
Dang on it, Muhammad!
GBR.
We made the astronaut laugh. Yes.
Yeah.
Go big red indeed.
Get in a portal and go to another podcast.
That's right.
Yeah.
That would be Johnny the Jet Rogers.
That's pretty funny.
He is a funny guy.
Very funny.
This is
friend of mine.
Is he? Is he a friend
Really?
of yours? Oh,
Yeah.
right on. Okay, maybe we can get into that a little bit. But go big red indeed. No block, no rock. Season 4, episode 54, coming at you from the NBNR studio in Omaha, Nebraska. Fellas, seeing as Nebraska Brewing Company is our main sponsor, let's get into what we're drinking real quick. Taco Veza. It's hazy outside. I need something light, something to keep me feeling good, refreshed. Taco Veza does the job. Mike, what you got?
I'm drinking the EOS. This beer is out of this world, and I figured since we have a guest that's been out of this world, I should probably drink an out of this world beer. So,
He definitely has been thinking about that.
hey,
He's been waiting.
I'm,
for
I'm,
mine
I'm an
all
improv
week.
kind of guy. I actually just
That's-
kind of came to me.
That is not improv. You know it.
Okay. Yeah, EOS is the best beer they have at Nebraska Brewing Company. KB, what you got over there?
I am also drinking the EOS. I think you put it perfectly. So I'm not
It's
even going
out
to
of this world. Huh?
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
going to elaborate any further.
Right on. Okay, now we do have a guest here. We will introduce him. Don't worry, we'll get to you. You're the main attraction. We fully are aware of this. But we got to go.
Drinking Metamucil and orange juice.
Hopefully we won't have any problems during the show. We won't need to take any breaks. Connor Kavalak, what you got?
I'm drinking Ailstorm right now. I know everybody watching is expecting me to be drinking Pilsner. It is back today. It's not quite in cans. But shout out the Omaha Storm Chasers, Omaha's AAA baseball team. We love those guys. But the beer is not really what I want to shout out. We do have a new pizza sponsor for the show as of today, and that's Caniglias Mano. So Caniglias Mano is a local family-owned pizza and pub in Papillion. Caniglias produces the highest quality food and service while cultivating great relationships with the community. Amano translates to by hand, which is exactly what you're going to get. Dough, meatballs, fresh chopped veggies, signature sauces, and house dressings. Caniglias Amano has created a welcoming atmosphere where you're greeted with a smile and treated like family. If you're looking for authentic flavors, check out Caniglias Amano.
Oh, yeah. Papillion, Nebraska. They delivered the food to us, and that might be the best pizza I've ever had.
For real. It's a lot, man. They do not skimp.
Yeah.
No,
At
And they
all.
hooked us
They
up with the
don't.
wings. I was just there on Thursday with my family, and my wife and I, we split like a sub pizza thing. I got like half of something. She got a little half of something. It was good. It was really good. Great people that run it, and it's all family owned, which is kind of what we're all about.
Well, and I want to point out that not only did we get pizza at a Caniglias, we got a great writer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the sister of the owner of Caniglias Mano, Emily Kading, is now writing for our blog here at NBNRpodcast.com. So make sure you guys go check out her articles because they are fantastic.
I think did she drop one today?
Today, yes.
Yeah.
About wide receiver breakdown.
They are fantastic. Go check her out. NBNRpodcast.com. There is a blog section. Go check those out.
Yeah.
Emily is cooking up straight heat with her words.
I like it.
Okay. We've got with us a retired NASA astronaut. He is the president and the CEO of the SAC Museum. Clayton Anderson. Astroclay.
Astroclay. That's right. Astroclay.com. Check it out.
Oh yeah.
Google me.
You're on Twitter,
trust me, we
Astroclay.
We did.
I'm on everything. I think I'm on.
Are you on TikTok?
Yeah, but
Are you?
somehow my account got deleted,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
and I don't know why, and I couldn't figure out how to get it back. So I said, "Ah, the hell with it."
freaking China.
That's fair.
It's always China.
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 That's a drop.
All right, now because look, we're gonna do a lot of space talk. Let me throw some jokes at you.
Okay. Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
I'm sure you've heard these many times.
Houston, jokes on the incoming port. Over.
Over. I don't know how to respond.
Give me your best. I'm ready.
How do you get clean in outer space?
I don't know. How do you get clean in outer space?
Does anybody know?
No.
You take a meteor shower.
Oh,
boo.
Dad
Boo.
joke. Dad joke.
What money do they use in space?
What money do they use in space? I know where we go drinking at the space bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Space bar. That's a good
But I
one.
don't know about the money part.
Starbucks.
Oh my god!
No.
They're not even a sponsor. How can you do that?
Yeah, no free
No free
drops.
plugs.
God.
Sorry, there's no Caniglias space
Yeah.
joke. What is a meal on the moon called?
I guess tasteless.
Hey, come on, you got to be funny.
I thought that was funny.
A satellite dish.
Oh man!
The
Okay.
moon's not a
Hey.
satellite.
Who
Hey.
writes your material?
Google.
Somebody who's
Yeah,
getting
Google.
paid far too much.
Okay, this is the best one. Why does Mike reject the moon landing?
Oh boy.
Why does Mike reject the moon landing?
Because he is a lunatic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes,
That's a good one.
Yes, you didn't even hesitate to say it was a good one.
Yeah, no, that was
I'm just gonna take some pizza and go. I think.
Yeah. You could take the whole pizza to go. Actually.
Hey, but you've been in this business for a long time. I'm sure you've heard your fair share of out of this world jokes, right? No, maybe not.
I'm sure people are pretty
Not
corny.
like that.
Not like that.
That's fair. Well, look, it's no secret that for the most part, like 99% of this is we talk about Husker football, and we live by it, we die by it. It's a problem. Okay, like it's depressing.
We love the pain.
The pain. We embrace the pain.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So knowing what you know, like with your knowledge, with your experiences, has that given you like just a different perspective on life in general? And I guess because Husker football, like I said, it's a obsession. You've been up there.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen the pale blue dot from above. Has it just changed your perspective on life in general?
Yes, but what changed my perspective more was the season with Bill Callahan when we almost lost to Ball State when I was watching it from the International Space Station. Now that is depressing.
Yeah. You just wanted to walk straight off that thing, or what?
Was it the game that was depressing, or the fact that you like had no one that cared and like, oh, I can't vent to anybody about how terrible this is?
Well, actually, true story. So I'm watching the game, and Oleg Kotov, the Russian flight engineer one, they called him, right? He was a Soyuz commander. But I had it on the laptop, and as long as we had a signal, I could turn it on like I was watching TV, right? And I had it up loud because I was doing stuff in the lab. And Oleg floats down and he goes, Clay, you watch American football. Yes, Oleg, I'm watching American football. I'm very excited. He comes down about 30 minutes later and he goes, Clay, football not go so good. Because he knew. We watched my face, right? And it's like, oh my God. It was so embarrassing. And but
They won though.
I know.
Yes.
But they didn't beat USC, and that was tragic that year. Because that's when I actually did a live call to the Nebraska Press Association tailgate party inside their building. And so it was all set up, pre-recorded, or not pre-recorded, pre-planned. And, I get on the system on the space station and I call that number, and I'm on speakerphone with all these people while the the guy, Alan Bierman, former Secretary of State, he has given me a cheat sheet of all the people that are here. And of course, little words about all of them. So I have to go into the spiel where, I'm talking to, hey, is Joey there? Hey, Joey, I understand that you just got arrested for, oh wait, that was another game. But anyway, I'm talking to all these people live, and then I can't watch the game because it's on at night in America, which means I'm going to be fast asleep. And I didn't care enough to stay up. Right. And it turns out that was a great judgment call on my part because they got shellacked.
You didn't miss anything.
No, I didn't.
Yes, 2007, which was when you were up. That was a particularly
horrible
rough year.
Yes.
Bill Callahan gets fired after Oklahoma State. Yeah, that was just
By the way, I do have a Nebraska football hat signed by Bill Callahan.
Where's that at?
It is in my stash of memorabilia in my home, and I've been trying to get it to Coach Callahan forever, but I don't know which team he's on now. Last time I knew he was the offensive line coach for the New York Jets, and we know how that went last year, so I don't think he's coaching there anymore. I don't know where he is, but I have his hat. I'm thinking of putting up for sale on eBay or something, see if I get any buyers.
If you would have said I left it in space, I would have died.
You just threw it out.
Yeah.
It's funny. I actually have a question about leaving things in space.
Okay.
So there is a rumor that when you went to space, you took 3 N's. The University of Nebraska.
More
N's.
than 3.
Okay. So the rumor I heard was that you only came back with 2, and that there might still be one on board that station. You don't have to confirm that, but I wanted to ask.
There is a big red N adorning the football helmets given to me by Coach Tom Osborne. In 2007, he gave me a sheet, the peel-off sheet of about, I think there were 5, 6, maybe 9 of them. Can't remember the number. I wish I'd taken a photo of the whole sheet. But one of them is no longer with us. It's in outer space, sailing around the Earth 5 miles per second, 17,500 miles per hour every single day, every single night. And I'm not going to tell anyone where it is because it's a secret.
But it is still aboard the station.
It is still aboard the space station.
Wow.
Incredible.
That's great.
And it's hidden, and I know where it's hidden, and I doubt that anybody else knows where it is. But I'm not giving it up yet. For some money, I might give it up.
How about pizza?
No.
I have $7 in my pocket. Is that going to get it done?
No, but I will add that 2 of those ends are now adorning a Nebraska football helmet in the north end of Memorial Stadium in the display area by that waterfall.
Oh,
very cool.
I gave 2 of them to Trev and his staff before he vamoosed
that whole thing.
And then I have I took another one that I had left, and they gave me a second helmet, which I put on the helmet on the right side, and that's going to go into a display in the museum eventually. So,
wow,
very cool.
And my wife and I planned this walking on the beach at Cape Kennedy back in 2007, the day before I flew into space, and it just took us a long time to get it taken care of.
Wow.
Well, so I think that's another thing that we have neglected to mention so far. You mentioned the museum. You are the CEO of the SAC Museum here in Ashland, Nebraska.
In Ashland, Nebraska, exit 426, Interstate 80.
So what has that journey been like from being in space to being the CEO of the SAC Museum, which is like a jewel of Nebraska?
Being an astronaut was far easier than being a president of a museum, let me tell you. But we're making strides. We don't make strides as quickly as I would like to. I want to get stuff done, right? That's why I'd probably make a poor politician, but we're making progress. The place has changed since I got there 2.5 years ago, which is good in my opinion. And we want to change a lot more. One of the exciting things is we've got 4 new simulators coming in sometime here and hopefully in September that are virtual reality simulators that will be state of the art and can do 30 or 35 actual different trips on the VR simulation, and the seats that you sit in move, but you won't puke, right? The current simulators we have can make you puke because they'll flip upside down, and that's for the young kids and the fathers that think they're young. And then, but these will be better. So little kids can get in them, right? Because the simulator that flips and stuff, you have to have a certain height. but we'll be able to put in younger kids and older people, right? So grandma can come and enjoy the sim. So we're very excited about that. And they're also paid for. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Okay, so I actually have a question here from my wife, who is actually tuning in for the first time ever this podcast.
Carly.
She does not.
What's her name?
Carly.
Hi, Carly.
Yeah. So she wants to know: do you eat the freeze dried ice cream sandwiches, the astronaut ice cream sandwiches that you guys sell in the gift shops?
I've tasted them, and they're actually very good.
They're cool.
I was really surprised how good they are, how much they taste like real ice cream. But quick fun fact is that no astronauts eat that stuff. It was designed back in the Apollo days, and it didn't go over very well. And so now someone has taken the idea and created this confectionery candy treat type thing that people sell in gift stores, but real astronauts don't eat that stuff.
What does an astronaut eat in space?
We had a proliferation of Russian and American food. I thought Russian food was way better than American food because American food, the scientists say we cannot have salt, we cannot have fat, which means your food cannot have taste.
Yeah.
And so, we had some decent dishes, but the Russian food to me was way better. If you open a can of Dinty Moore beef stew, that was kind of Russian food. So you'd open the can, it was about the size of a cat food can. You opened it up, it looked a lot like cat food. I smelled it, probably smelled a lot like cat food. And I've never eaten cat food, so I don't know if it tasted like cat food, but lamb with vegetables, pork with potatoes, fish and rice, those are dishes that I loved and I would have killed for to eat them in space, right? Because sometimes that food runs out and you have to eat the American Fiesta chicken.
Yeah. Not a fan of the Fiesta chicken, are you?
No, or tofu teriyaki.
Oh gosh. Like Fiesta chicken at least sounds it could be good.
Tofu teriyaki, no.
But American stuff, I'd take meatloaf, right? They had really pretty good meatloaf, and I'd put it with cheese between two tortillas, and I'd fold the tortillas, and I'd have a meatloaf sandwich. That was probably my favorite American meal that I would eat in space station. So when a packet with meatloaf came up, Carly, this is important. You can do this for your husband. You can get some meatloaf and you can wrap it in a couple tortillas with some cheese, and he can eat like he's in space.
Like a real astronaut. Like a real astronaut.
Kyle hates cheese, so he'll just do meatloaf and tortillas.
Yeah.
That's all he needs.
Yeah. What could be instead of cheese? I don't know. Yeah.
Cheese whiz.
Yeah.
Ranch.
Yeah.
Ranch. Yeah. Ketchup.
Yep.
We had ketchup.
Good.
It was actually very tasty. And it's funny, you get up there and you're up there for 5 months and things like that matter to you. It's not like, oh, I'm going to eat again. No, I'm going to eat again. What's available? And, oh, meatloaf. Yes, meatloaf. Give me some tortillas. I'm ready. And like teriyaki tofu again, and nobody ate that stuff. Right. So when you had a box that had your food for a certain period of time, and you had breakfast and drinks and stuff were in one box, and then you had entrees and stuff in the other box, and you could only open the box until you finished all the food in the box. You couldn't open a new one, right? And so when you get down to the point where the last thing in the box is tofu teriyaki, it's very depressing.
Yeah. No, hey, listen, I know the feeling. I was in the Army. I deployed.
MREs.
The MREs, right?
Meals ready to eat.
And we would have, one guy, he would go through and we'd say, rat fuck all the MREs. And he'd go pull out all the Skittles and he'd pull out all the goods. And then whatever was left is what, you got to eat. So yeah, I know the feeling.
And then he sold it on the side. I got some Skittles, man. You want some Skittles? It will cost you some cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm sorry. This is a podcast.
This is great.
It's a podcast.
No, that's the best part. It's a podcast. Okay. It's not radio, so you can do that.
You can pretty much do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so after 5 months, you said, when you got back, was there one meal in your mind that was like, that's what I'm going for immediately?
Oh, damn right.
What was it?
T-bone steak, medium rare, baked potato, loaded, sour cream, butter, bacon, and a nice Silver Oak Cabernet Sauvignon.
My man. My man.
That is descriptive.
How long did you think about that meal once you got up there?
Every day. But I think, it took me, we didn't have that meal for, I think 3 days. The first night we had, that I was back in Houston, we had friends and we had fajitas because we ordered takeout from our favorite restaurant. So we had that. Then the next night maybe it was the next night we did steak. And then the third night we always did Mexican steak and Chinese food. Whenever I came back from wherever it was, whether it was Moscow in training or Canada or Japan in training or Europe or come back from space, it was always the same. Mexican steak and Chinese. And before I left for a trip, Mexican steak and Chinese.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And today, Mexican steak Chinese, is it Monday, Wednesday,
Dude,
Tuesday?
we're in Omaha.
Yeah.
Steak moves to number 1, number 2. And until I find a really good Chinese place, it's number 3.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's the beef steak.
We had, Tex-Mex in Houston is kind of hard to beat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's solid.
It's a high bar.
We're looking around here to see what we can find. And so far,
Well, especially you're out in Ashland, so that's
yeah.
I don't know.
You're very limited out there.
We'll travel.
Yeah,
that's
if it's
fair.
worth it. If it's worth
Yeah.
it. So I was just gonna say I just wanted to break down. There's some people in here listening, and I'm sure they're very curious as to why NBNR has an astronaut on the podcast.
Let's go back in time.
Let's get into this. A little explanation here.
Oh boy,
they owe me money.
Yeah, that's it. So over the last couple of weeks, Mike has just he's raised questions about the moon landing. He watched like a documentary, and they're kind of like posing these questions, right? That makes you wonder. And I had tweeted out something that was like, I've watched Mike since 2006 transition into like a high schooler, a husband, a father. And my favorite phase of Mike so far is him not believing that we landed on the moon, because it's just been this like super heated thing the last couple weeks. So
yes, he's gotten lost down a rabbit hole. I don't know how long you've been down this rabbit hole. I think
it's only been a month. Do you want the backstory of the backstory?
Look, hold on a second. I just want to say, Mike, I feel like we've lost him.
Okay.
You know? I feel like we've lost you.
Before we get to
I don't know who you are.
I want to ask. So Mike sent us this YouTube, like I don't even want to use the word documentary.
It's a documentary.
It said documentary in the title,
yeah.
okay?
Yeah, that's what makes
That's
it a
how you know.
documentary.
Oh boy, here we go.
Mike sends us this YouTube video today. It's like, I'm not trying to convince anybody, but you should all watch it before this interview.
No, I
want to ask, did anyone watch it?
None of you guys did.
No, I didn't.
None of you
I
guys
am
did.
working.
Yeah. No, that's not what this is. The backstory of the backstory is we were taking a golf trip out to western Nebraska to Gothenburg. We're gonna do a little golfing.
The Swedes.
Yeah.
Some of the Swedes.
Yeah. Wait, you know the Swedes?
Sure.
Like,
I'm from Nebraska, dude.
Come on, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking. And so we're going out there doing a little golfing, and we got on this topic of the moon landing. And my wife's cousin Travis has been like on this. He's been beating this drum for years about how we didn't land on the moon. I never really like looked in, and I was just like, "You're freaking nuts."
Yeah.
And then we're in a car talking for long periods of time about it, and I'm like, "All right."
Yes.
Okay.
Mike.
He's like we did this before the floppy disk was invented. And I'm like, a floppy? Don't copy that floppy. Holy shit. Okay. I get it. Okay. I see where you're coming. So then I just started like diving into these rabbit holes, and I'm like, okay. And like, obviously when you're doing conspiracies, you hear the factual side of things too. So like, I'm not on the side where it's like, okay, there's no way in hell we land on the moon. I don't believe that. I know for a fact we've been to space. I know for a fact that the Earth is not flat. I'm not crazy.
Good.
But there was just a couple things that I'm like, okay, he raised some good questions. And I was like, and me, like I said, I'm not one that's like, okay, there's no way in hell we land on the moon. It's more like I have questions. And anytime I Googled it, I would get like iffy answers back. So I would ask these questions to the people around me. And then Kyle sends that tweet, and next thing you know, you're here. So like, it's just, I've been raising questions, and who better to answer some of these questions than someone who lived in that world for a long time.
I've never been to the moon either.
Yeah.
Is it a bad time to tell Mike this isn't an episode? It's actually an intervention.
Yeah.
Yes, the lights are bright.
Gosh. Well, look, we have Nebraska's only astronaut.
That's insane.
In studio.
That's insane, though.
So you got Travis all in your ear, right? In his truck, whatever.
Yeah.
Blabbing about this and that.
Yes.
What are some of the points that he brought up that got you going down this black hole, if you will?
So
black hole. I love the analogy. That's awesome.
Yes. Okay. So I did want to get into just like some basic public theories, not even ones that I actually believe, but that you can just debunk right off the bat.
Oh,
Okay.
Here we go.
Here we go. Okay,
No
we'll
pressure.
start off with those. Then the last.
Houston, buckling up for liftoff. Over.
We'll get into just like the basic conspiracies that you'll probably do.
He's got him on his phone.
Well, I have to.
He's ready, baby.
I took plenty of notes. I don't take notes for anything, Clay. I'm just telling you. Like I took notes.
Like I
today.
said, we lost him.
We
don't
haven't lost
claim any
him.
of them.
He doesn't do this for Husker
Okay,
football.
here's an easy one for you. Why was the flag waving with no atmosphere?
Because Jack Kinsler, who sang tenor with me in the Webster Presbyterian Church Choir in Webster, Texas, and a fellow engineer, invented the flag. And the way he invented the flag was he went into a shower one morning and he said, "Hey, that shower curtain slides across on a rod. Oh, if I created a curtain that looked like the flag and slid it across on a rod and locked the end of the curtain on the end of the rod, I would have a flag that would fly." That's how it works.
And it's essentially on a spring or something.
No, it's not a
No,
just
it
look,
was
it's just so imagine a shower curtain that's being hit by sunlight.
yes.
Right? The ripples in the shower curtain would reflect the sunlight differently. So it appears
That it's moving.
Yeah.
But it
But
wasn't.
it's not
actually
moving. I mean, there's no wind in the moon. It's a vacuum, right?
Yes.
That's why footprints never leave. That's why moon dust never moves unless you blow on it.
Okay.
Right.
So you brought that up. Let's get to the next big one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We
That
have.
was
Hey, now
easy.
hold on.
That one was easy.
Mike,
I'm giving you the easy cupcake ones right off the
Do
bat.
I get money for that?
Yeah.
No, not yet. Go
Oh.
fish.
Oh, rats.
Okay, here's the next one. Okay, so you say the moon dust, footprints, all that stuff. A 16-ton landing craft makes no crater with 10,000 pounds of thrust, but footprints were exposed. The landing pads had zero dust on them. Why?
What?
Why did the landing pads have zero space dust on them?
How do you know they had zero space dust on them?
According to the pictures and the videos that they had out there.
Yikes. See, I don't even think that's true. I mean, I don't know, but the pads that were underneath the LEM were the first thing to touch the lunar regolith. It's called regolith. And there was thrust from the engines that were allowing it to slow down to come. So there had to be dust on them. I don't know where somebody's getting their data from, but you know,
okay.
I don't know. I can't answer that.
That's one thing. He was not there for that. He cannot confirm or deny.
Yeah. And that's just one of those. It's a popular thing because they've got like the landing pads. They look like tin foil and they're just pristine, not covered in anything. And you think that something coming in that heavy would have dust all over the place, right?
Depends on if it has dust that's so fine that you can't see it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right. You ever had dust on your furniture that you're looking at it from 3 feet away? You don't know it's dusty till you get right up on that bad boy.
That is true.
Right.
All right. Okay.
Yep. So that's
Who are these
this,
people?
this is one of my favorite ones.
I need to play golf with this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, we
take
could
his money.
Yeah,
Listen.
18 holes would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
This one's one of my favorite ones.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
The Dutch National Museum said that one of its prized possessions, a rock supposedly brought from the moon by the U.S. astronauts, is just a piece of petrified wood. Why? And is that even accurate? I mean, like that is like a real article for NBC that they're in their museum is a moon rock given from Neil Armstrong, and it is a piece of petrified wood. It actually is not a moon rock.
How do you know that petrified wood doesn't exist on the moon?
That is true.
I mean, we don't know the composition of things that end up getting on the moon, right? I mean, it could have come from Earth. It could have gotten on a trajectory where it ends up on the lunar surface. I don't know. But Neil Armstrong, having known Neil, would not give this museum something that he didn't think was a real moon rock. So I don't know where he got it, but I do know some college kids stole moon rocks from NASA Johnson Space Center. And they stole them. And then here's what they did with them. They went to a hotel. They checked in. They laid the fine pieces of moon rock on their bed. And then they made love on the moon.
No, they did not.
True story.
What?
Right before they got arrested for stealing moon rocks. True story. Look it up, Google it.
Yeah.
Tell your golfing buddy, check that one out. It's real.
That is.
Do you know how long were they sentenced for? Was it worth it?
Oh, I don't know.
Were they sentenced longer than they lasted?
Yeah.
We sentenced you to 29 seconds. Bam.
Guilty. I don't know. But I mean, Kids are wacko.
They might
Yeah.
have made love on petrified wood.
Yeah.
Well, and okay, it's funny you say that, Clay, because
somebody had petrified wood. You know. Can you say that on a podcast?
You can.
Oh, okay.
if there's any place to say it, it's here.
I'm gonna be fired.
Yeah. Yes, the president and CEO of the SAC Museum is going to fire himself. Well, you hear about how the moon forms to begin with, right? It's an asteroid hits Earth, a piece breaks off, right? And so, who's to say, right, how much wood was a part of that Earth that got hit and discarded, right? Like a tree or something. I don't know. But that's how my biology teacher explained that to me.
It's all timing, right? All this stuff is so old, you don't know.
Right.
When things happen and when petrified wood first existed, who knows? And so if he's right and something hit the earth and created some particles going off, and then they coalesce because of gravity, the gravitational pull, they coalesce into a sphere that we call the moon that's trapped in our orbit. Who knows?
I'd be interested to carbon date that piece of petrified wood. Alleged petrified wood.
Somebody
Carbon
probably
date it.
did. If it came from, see, I don't know how he got it, right? Nobody ever gave me a piece of moon rock and said, hey, Clay, take this and put it in your house as a collective item. But, he went to the moon, so he probably got privileges that I would never get. He and Buzz and Mike Collins probably got something. I know we had one guy that was in my era as an astronaut who climbed Mount Everest, and he had a moon rock in a what do you call it, Jurassic Park, when the guy had the cane and the grasshopper was in the cane.
The
resin amber. So he had it in a resin base, right, with a moon rock, and he took it to the top of Mount Everest so that a moon rock could be on Mount Everest. But I believe he had to bring it back and give it back. So I don't know.
Interesting.
It's odd that the things people want to do with moon rocks. Yeah.
Well, they don't do them for the moon rock. They do them for the recognition of themselves doing it with the moon rock.
Yeah.
Mike, I want to address something that Clay just brought up about how gravity will coalesce objects into a sphere. You brought up something to me the other day where you believe the Earth is egg-shaped.
I said that is another theory. I said there's another theory that the Earth might be egg-shaped.
It's oblate.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a perfect sphere. It's oblate because of gravitational force and the rotational forces of the Earth as it rotates on its axis. So isn't an egg? I don't know, but it's oblate. It's an oblate spheroid is what mathematicians would call it.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was kind of reading.
So if you took a basketball and you squished it a little bit, that's an oblate spheroid.
Okay. Yeah. So as long as you don't say egg, you say oblate.
Yeah.
Spheroid.
I mean, that's
oblate
is not in my vocab, so
it is
way easier.
It's not in Travis's vocabulary either, Mike.
Oblate, that comes right after 07.
Yeah. Okay, come on.
Okay, Clay. Sorry,
my bad.
Just because I want to throw the other side of things out here.
Okay.
Can you see the American flag from a telescope on Earth? Can you see the American flag on the moon?
I don't
from
think
a telescope.
I don't think so. You can, I believe they've taken photographs of the areas of the moon where we landed in the 60s. And I believe they've been able to enlarge them and enhance them with all their tech such that you can see the site and you might be able to see the flag, but they're white now, I guess, because of the ultraviolet all the radiation that hits it. So it's not it doesn't look like a flag anymore.
Right. It should be just nothing.
I don't know. And they have stuff on the moon that they left there. I don't know if they left any cameras that look that direction or something that you could still get a feed from. I don't know.
Okay.
But we're still getting information from Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, and they went, a long time ago, and they're out of our solar system. So if we're still getting stuff back from them, never bet against NASA tech.
Okay.
Are you worried? So with nuclear radiation, radiation washing the flag is a very reasonable thing.
Because it's not protected by atmosphere.
Exactly.
Right.
Are you worried that if aliens did visit us, they might think we're surrendering before they even got here?
It'd probably be a wise thing to do.
Well, the aliens that I met that probed me and all that, they owe me 575,000 rupekis from the poker games we were playing because I was kicking their butt. They had no idea how to play poker, and I'm still waiting on the payback. So I don't know.
Not Starbucks?
No.
Dang it.
That's hilarious.
What else you got, Mike?
Okay, I'll
What
just
else
get
are we
into
debunking?
my actual one that is still like a question to me is the Van Allen radiation belts. And I understand NASA's theory about how they went kind of around them to avoid some of the dangerous radiation, but just like the heat and the radiation alone would like fry you like a hot pocket. Like how are they able to do that?
How do you know that part?
I mean, just given that apparently the radiation belt is anywhere from 35 to 35,000 degrees, 3,500 to 35,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Well, it's a think of the Earth as a bar magnet.
Okay.
And so all that stuff is attracted to the North Pole and the South Pole of your bar magnet that goes as part of the axis of the Earth. So it's in an figure eight form. I don't know how hot it gets. I'll have to Google that.
That's what I had to do.
But I think that, trajectory design is what I did when I learned at Iowa State and what I did at NASA when I was an engineer. And so you can program your trajectory to go the place you want it to go. It just depends on how expensive you want it to be, how much fuel you want to expend, right? The size of the rocket engines on your spaceship, all those things. So I don't know to what portion of the Van Allen belts they went through, but it's possible to minimize that issue based on your trajectory design.
Okay.
But I'm speaking out of my bailiwick.
Okay.
We just launched shuttles and pointed them in a direction and shot payloads out the payload bay. That's what we did.
Okay. Okay.
So the moon thing, I should ask some of the guys that are still alive that I used to work with that did all that stuff for the moon. When I first got to Houston, I worked in a group called Mission Planning and Analysis Division. They were all the moon guys. They were the guys that did the lunar abort trajectories and the lunar trajectories and all the stuff that got humans to the moon. So it's pretty cool working with those dudes.
I can imagine. Well, because like when we got to the moon, you were like, what, 10 years old? You were born in like 59. Yeah. So like, I mean, I would imagine you're just like stepping into the shoes of all these guys that just did this most incredible thing ever, right?
They were real astronauts. I don't know that I consider myself a real astronaut. When I got on the shuttle, I didn't think I was going to die. Those guys got on rockets and the expectation was they could be pulverized.
And some people did. That actually happened.
Well, yeah, not in that time frame, except, I mean, the two did the test, the Apollo 1 test that was on the ground, right? They weren't anywhere dangerous, supposedly, except inside their capsule. So those three perished. And then we didn't have death until Challenger, and then we had death in Columbia, right? 2 shuttle flights. So you look at Apollo and what those guys, Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo, and we only lost the Apollo 1 crew. That's pretty impressive stuff because their expectation, they didn't know what to expect, most of them, especially when they got on top of a Mercury rocket or a Gemini rocket. And it wasn't until we began to refine our understanding of the technology that we could fix things like the Apollo 1 fire and have a good confidence that we knew what we were doing. But, there were other things that happened when rockets got hit by lightning and, that's all new stuff.
So yeah, go. You're 10 years old when we do land on the moon, Mike.
Okay.
When we do. You're 10 years old.
The flat part. We landed on the flat part.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
there's only one side.
It's easy to go from flat planet to flat planet, right?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Mike. But so when that happens, you're 10 years old. Did you have any inkling before that you wanted to be an astronaut, that you wanted to be a part of something like that? Was that a defining moment for you?
Not Apollo 11, Apollo 8 was.
Okay.
So it was 1969. I was 10 years old on Christmas Eve, and my mom and dad awakened my brother and sister near midnight, 12:30, just after midnight, I think, to watch the Apollo 8 guys go behind the moon, right? And at that age, we got down and sat on a rug and watched the black and white TV, and all you saw were the cameras in mission control. So it's all guys in white shirts, skinny black ties, black pants, greased back hair, smoking cigarettes with pocket protectors, and they're talking and they're listening to the flight director. So I need to go, no go for translunar injection burn. Retro, go! Chiefo, go! Fido, go! Surgeon, go! Ecom, go! Retro, go! They were all go, right? And then they call the Apollo 8 crew and they say, hey, you guys go for translunar injection burn. I'm thinking, do they really have a choice?
Yeah, right.
I mean, they're already in space, but they give a go and we do the burn and they're headed. And so I'm hearing all this chatter. I don't see much going on, right? No cameras on the vehicle and stuff. But it was so exciting to listen to that, and then to see them go toward the moon, and then they go behind the moon for the first time, and that's all you got. And as a 9-year-old, I'm going, holy crap.
Yeah.
A volcano erupted and blew him out of the sky. or maybe a Harry Potter dragon. Harry Potter didn't exist back then, but we had dragon stories when I was a child. And maybe a fire-breathing dragon went and burned them up. You just didn't know, right? I'm a kid. And then they came around on the backside, and as they're approaching the backside, NASA in the mission control knows that a certain amount of time passes, they should be coming to where the signal connects again. And you hear Apollo 8, Houston, over. Apollo 8, Houston, over. And then after a few more seconds, you hear beep, Houston, Apollo 8. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus or something like that. They'd made it around the moon, right? I'm freaking out. I think this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But my mother would have told you that 3 years earlier, when I was 6, that we discussed I would one day become an astronaut. I don't remember any of that part, but the fact that she said that I discussed it with her, that's kind of impressive to me. That, I mean, I'm a kid. What do I know? But for me to be blessed enough to make it all the way through that journey and actually fly in space is pretty cool to me.
Wow.
That's insane.
Well, okay. So, Mike, this is a thing that I've been hearing from you too, and I'm surprised you didn't say it. So, the last manned trip to the moon was in 1972.
Yep.
And so a lot of people would ask, and I have what I suspect my answers for this, but a lot of people would say, well, why haven't we been back since 1972? What would you say to that
That's
person?
an easy one for me to answer.
I saved that for the end because I figured it'd be easy.
So as Astro Clay, I promote my 3 Ds of spaceflight: danger, difficulty, dollars. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are very important things. And the reason we didn't go back to the moon was there was a Vietnam War going on. There was turmoil in America in many different directions and ways. And it cost a lot of money to go to the moon. We had 3 Saturn V rockets that were ready to be furbished or finished and go to the moons, right? So we would do Apollo 18, 19, and 20 or whatever they would number them. But we didn't do it because we, A, didn't have enough money, B, we had focus elsewhere, and C, people were starting to use that phrase I hate. We've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Right. And so now you have people at NASA that were working on other things like the space shuttle in those early days in the mid 70s. And, Apollo was waning. The interest was waning. Okay. Well, yeah, we've been there. Big deal. It's the moon. And so that's why the focus changed, the direction changed, the money changed, the path of the earth was changing with the Vietnam War. I mean, wars are expensive as hell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if people don't know this, I'll give you Clay's fact of the night on this podcast, right? To become famous, that the budget of our military is about 33 cents on the tax dollar, a third. Okay. NASA's budget during the Apollo timeframe, the highest it's ever been, was 2 cents of every tax dollar.
Wow.
Yep.
2 cents versus 33. Okay. During my 30-year career at NASA, we averaged roughly about 0.7 cents on the tax dollar.
Wow.
Not even a penny. Today, it's about half a penny on the tax dollar. So every dollar that I pay in taxes, a half a penny goes to NASA. 33 pennies go to the military. So, I mean, people don't get that. They think, oh, yeah, NASA, they get a great big budget. No, it's pretty big, but it's not that big. And if you imagine what we could do, there's a group out there, the Penny for NASA group. If you just got us 1 penny for every tax dollar, just think of what we could do. So that doubles our budget from $13.5 billion to $27 billion or whatever.
So my understanding is back during the Apollo days, the budget for NASA was almost 5% of the United States. We'll just say their budget for the year, whatever, was about 5%. And now it's like less than 1%.
Yeah. Well, the way I would say it is Apollo was 2 cents on the tax dollar. I don't know what percent that is.
Yeah. I saw something. It was like 5%. That's why we haven't gone back.
Not very many, but
the money.
The other fun fact from Clay today is, for all your listeners out there, the return on investment for the Apollo program to bring technology that allows you to do your podcast from this
Deep and dark studio.
Yeah.
It's
In Omaha,
blue like the
Nebraska.
earth, right?
So that was 7-1 at a minimum, 7-1. Who of us would not take that today?
Oh yeah.
Right. Some people will tell you that it was 20-1. So between $7 to $1, or 7 pennies to 1 penny, or 20 pennies to 1 penny, that's a pretty good return on investment, right? And if you look at the technology that came out of those things, that it's my belief that when we travel in space and we explore space, it's not the destination that we're going to, it's what we learn along the way. As we develop technology to get us further and further from the planet, or back to the moon, living on the moon, working on the moon, not just stomping around with our shoes and getting back in a spaceship and coming home. When we start doing these things, technology development will continue, and we'll get more things that will help every single human that lives on the planet Earth. Every single one.
Wow.
So you got to keep that in mind. If you're going to, there are these guys that diss the space program, right? And there are these people that say, oh, we should take care of things on Earth. Oh, as you tweet on your phone,
Right.
and you send a picture to grandma in Europe, and you go, well, how did I do that? You did it because of space technology. I mean, you can Google things that we've done from the space technology, right? Invisible braces. I saw a kid the other day, and he had those braces on his teeth. You can't see. That's NASA tech.
Wow.
If you look at Michael Jordan basketball shoes, the tech for his soles on those shoes originated from the moon boots of Apollo.
Wow.
Yeah. And who knows that? Nobody knows that.
Nobody knows that.
Michael Jordan probably doesn't even know that. And then there are artificial sows that have been invented in part because of NASA technology, because the pig has too many piglets and can't feed them on her teats. So they created an artificial sow that allows every piglet to eat and live and survive. Therefore, making Governor Papillion have a great pork producing, operation.
Yeah.
It's all about tech. Right. And you're investing in tech, and we all like tech, don't we?
Yeah.
You guys do. I can see just looking around the room.
Yeah. Well, and just like your point about how the United States just was not prioritizing space travel. And I think back to John F. Kennedy giving a speech in 1962 about
we chose to go to the moon
because it's hard,
not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
And I think of that, like they were all in on that, and that took. Of course, he died.
Why were they all in?
Well, of course, the space race.
Yeah, we were trying to beat the Russians.
Yes.
We had a reason to beat the Russians.
Well, no,
because of Sputnik.
What I'm saying,
we beat the Russians in one aspect.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is
most Olympic medals.
Well, let's not forget those.
That's very important. We win. Well, even that took from 62 to 69. I mean, that was 7 years. And they were all in.
And that's expedited too. Like that was
that's why
that's
why they're all in, because he said we got to do this and beat the Russians before the decade is out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he gave them a timeline, he gave them a goal and a timeline, and then he was astute enough to give them enough money to do it. He could have given him more money, maybe, I don't know, but he gave him that 2 cents on the tax dollar, right? And that allowed them to do enough things to be able to design and build and get the tech so that they could get to the moon and beat the Russians.
Right.
Do we do that today?
No. And it's just, even that took 7 years. We were all in. So just imagine now how we don't go all in like that. And so, of course, it's going to take more time. And I know that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they are exploring going back. That's like kind of the last I heard was they wanted to get back on the moon. And that was another point of emphasis for NASA. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. So I can't believe you can get to Mars without going back to the moon and learning how to live and work on the surface of the moon. That's where you develop the tech. So everybody you've heard, right? There's water on the moon, right? You've heard that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everybody says, oh, water on the moon. How do you get the water? How do you take the water from being a big old piece of ice in a deep crater on the south pole of the moon? How do you get it out of there so that I can drink it or pour it on a plant to grow the plant?
You got to dig.
We got to have infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
It's just like you go fill your car with gas or even your Tesla with electricity. You got to have infrastructure. That's why a lot of people don't have Teslas. There's no infrastructure. There's no electric charging stations anywhere because we haven't built them yet. Well, it's the same thing. You've got to have the infrastructure to make the reality happen of frozen water on the south pole of the moon coming to your bottled water near you, right?
So that actually leads me into exactly where I wanted to go. So you mentioned
you're welcome.
Thank you. Your 3Ds. I want to ask, and I'd love for you to shut me down so I can stop believing this, that the fourth D is discovery. Because in the late 60s, early 70s, with the capability we had, was there much more to discover on the moon? And as technology has advanced, we've been able to kind of discover things about the moon without putting men on them.
Sure.
And that has been a reason to necessarily not put men back on the moon for right now.
True. And discovery could be a fourth D, but doesn't sound near as cool as Clay's 3Ds of space flight. So,
right. Yeah, that's facts. You can have 4Ds. I already trademarked it, but I'll sign it over.
Okay. But see, you got to think of the rationale, the reason to go is, and I use analogies all the time. So imagine you're the pilgrims that arrived at Plymouth Rock on the Mayflower. Okay. They got there, they got off the ship, and a lot of them died because they were in an environment they didn't understand, that they couldn't control. And they figured it out with the help of the indigenous people that were here, right? But they were able to survive, and they were able to build a community. And once you start to build a community and you have strength in the community and you're safe and you know how to get your food and you know how to battle a winter and you know how to do all those things and make fire and all those good things, then what did they do? They started to send small parties outward, away from the comfort and home, to explore, and that became very dangerous. So imagine the guys and gals that were coming across the plains of Nebraska, and it got very, very difficult, right? There were tornadoes, there was heat, there were drought, there was thunderstorms that were crazy, and crossing rivers and mountains and all those things. And so some of them stopped. They said, I'm discovering right here.
Yeah.
That's all I want to discover. I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to stay alive, and I'm going to live, and I'm going to do the best I can. So discovery is important, but I disagree with astronauts and people that say that the human psyche was born to discover. Well, yeah, it probably was, but it's got to be more than that. It's got to be the purpose of the discovery is to do what? Is to learn new things, learn new technology, and develop ways to get the railroad from the West Coast to the East Coast of the United States. Because once you build the railroad, now you can do some stuff.
Yeah.
Right. That's new tech that helps benefit a larger sect of the population or portion of the population. So to just go somewhere to discover depends on what your discipline is. If I'm a biologist, do I have to go anywhere to discover something about biology? If I'm an entomologist, I probably have to go somewhere to learn about new bugs, but your purpose has to be defined a little bit better to decide if I need to go outward or if I can stay in my house on Earth and discover something new without venturing outward. So if you go to the moon, there's lots to learn. We were only there stomping around for a few days at a time and thinking how cool it was, but we didn't go down to any of those craters. That's where that water supposedly is, and ice in the South Pole crater. So now you got to figure out how to get into the crater, and then how many different people have different ideas about that ice. Oh, I want to see the chemical composition of the ice and determine if there are any microbes in the ice. And then somebody else says, I just want to drink it.
Yeah.
Somebody else says, I want to pour it on my plants because we're going to have to grow plants if we're going to stay here. I want to put it in a compound that creates concrete bricks that we can build our habitats with on the right. So your focus is what dictates what you're trying to discover, unless you do it by accident, like Edison and the light bulb.
Yeah. So discovery means nothing without utilization.
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, you can discover to discover.
Like you're just out there like, all right, here we are.
But if the guy who came over, I don't know. So the guy who came upon Pikes Peak, he discovered Pikes Peak, Zebulon Pike, right? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a big ass mountain right there.
Sick.
Oh, it's Pike Peak. Well, there's more.
Yeah.
Right. So you can discover simply for the sake of discovering, being the first to see something. And that there's nothing wrong with that. That's pretty cool if you're that first person.
Sure.
But there's more that you can discover. Well, how high is Pikes Peak? How many ways can I get to the top? Is there a ski resort on the backside? Right. There are things that make it more discoverable in terms of what you take away from that opportunity. You know, if I go to Mars, if I'm the first guy on Mars and I see what's the mountain, the biggest mountain that we know of in the universe?
Mons Olympus.
Yeah, Mons Olympus.
Okay, hold on. How did you know that?
I'm a dork, dude.
He's
you
smart.
should know that by now.
He is a giant dork.
Yeah.
Like out of everybody in this room except Clay, I'd be like,
yeah,
he's probably gonna know.
I resent that.
I feel like you're smart enough to know that.
I was all Capital Conference in basketball in 1977.
Yeah.
That's not a dork. Anyway, but
You wore rec specs, didn't you?
that's right. But if you discover Olympus Mons,
Olympus Mons, not Mons Olympus.
that's pretty cool to discover that. But now it's all the other stuff that goes with it. I think that's important, right?
That's part of like being human, is just constantly trying to find purpose in something.
Or
And
be the first guy to see Niagara Falls. That's pretty cool to discover that. But then the guy that went over in a wheelbarrow or in a barrel, he discovered a lot more.
yeah.
So I understand what you're saying, and I just take it to a different
I get
different route.
No, it
right?
makes a lot of sense. That I said discovery is nothing without utilization, but you're saying there's more than one way to discover something.
Yes. And if you go back to the Pikes Peak example, if I discover Pikes Peak, how am I utilizing that?
Right.
See, I can discover it without utilizing it. But you would hope that people figured out, well, how do I utilize this? Well, I take coal from the sides of it and, burn it for fuel. Then now you're doing utilization as well as discovery.
Interesting.
Wow. Okay. What are we at, KB? We're at
we're about an hour.
Yeah, we're at like almost exactly an hour. We've got 183 people watching right now, 184.
Okay.
So yeah. Well, Mike's looking at his phone. Well, you got a bullet point?
No, it's not. It's not like a theory or anything. I just wanted to ask you, as obviously being a NASA guy, like, and you're talking about getting back to the moon or going to Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk has SpaceX. What is your opinion on like SpaceX and Elon versus like NASA? Like,
I like that. I like commercial space flight. I mean, I'm an astronaut and I revere that title greatly, right? I'm very blessed to have been that or done that. But I think you guys all deserve a chance to go into space too, because I believe that we would, if we all had a chance to spend a week in space and a month in a third world country, all of us, we'd change our perspective on how we deal with problems and situations. I really believe that with all my heart, because I've seen Earth from space. You guys danced around this a little bit at the beginning, and yes, it did change me. I believe in God stronger than I ever believed in God. Now, other astronauts will say, well, I believe in the overview effect, and we need to protect our planet and protect the atmosphere. That's all valid. I don't disagree with it. But what I learned was none of this is random. None of it. As I watched the Earth and I looked at Australia and I looked at deserts and like the Sahara, and I looked at the ocean and icebergs in the ocean and the rivers and how they flowed and all that stuff, all I could think of was none of this is random. We are the only species that we know of on Earth and in our solar system that can do the things we do. Now, if you take the solar system and you look at our galaxy, we're the only ones so far that we know can do what we do. Now, the galaxy is huge. The universe is huge. So I tell people, and we can go to our pizza sponsor, and we can say, imagine their pizza is the universe. It's a big honking pizza. And on one crust is the human. And the human has gone from Earth to the moon, 238,000 miles away, and come back safely. That's pretty much it. We've sent some probes out. I get that, but that's what we've basically done. What if on the opposite crust of our hugely immense pizza is another species doing exactly what we're doing? Exactly. So now, how do we meet at that pepperoni in the middle? Ooh, 3D is a space flight. It's going to be dangerous. It's going to be difficult, and there's going to be lots of dollars involved. Which, until we go to Bitcoin, and then we go to William Shatner and whatever they use for coins in the United Federation of Planets. But you see what I'm saying? It's the universe is so big that I can't believe we're alone.
Right. I was going to ask you, aliens.
Did you ever learn anything about that? Like, is there anything?
I told you the poker and the probing and the
that whole thing.
Did you say what was the currency?
No, there was an astronaut. He was really smart. He was a doctor. He was a fighter pilot. The dude was just off the charts smart, right? And he also tried to telepathically communicate with the aliens. And I loved him to death. He had a really high pitched voice. And I'm trying to communicate with the alien people out here by placing my
forehead against the shuttle windows. The shuttle windows have approximately 7 panes of glass for protection of the astronauts against micrometeoroid particles that could travel through the glass and potentially damage our ship. But I'm trying to communicate with
the guy was just, he was incredible.
He sounds incredible.
Yeah. He'd probably hate me for doing that, but I have the utmost respect for the guy. He was so brilliant. But did anybody contact him? No. People ask me that, and I go, well, I was listening. If they would have called me, I would have hollered at them, And they're either gonna, I shake my hand, say, "Hey, how you doing?" They're either gonna shake my hand or eat me or blast me with a ray gun or something.
Right.
So
yeah.
But it's just so big, right? And people say, "Oh, they're already here. Oh, one of them's sitting right next to me."
Most redheads are aliens. Right?
I know.
Yeah.
That's
a well-known fact.
Yeah. Yes, we are different.
But you just don't know, right? And if they're, I always tell people, if they're so small, if they're here already, they're so much more intelligent than us. Then why do they even care?
Why assimilate?
Yeah. I don't know. But
okay, so I just want to go back to you talking about like looking down on the earth, because I've hiked Pikes Peak, and it took us forever, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yep.
And like I will never forget the feeling of feeling so small. Like looking up, insignificant. Like you had mentioned, you go to like a third world country and you start figuring out different ways to solve problems, and your outlook on life is certainly a lot different. And I've experienced that. I've hiked Pikes Peak. I feel very small. So I just want to know like the feeling of being above Earth, like looking down at Earth and just realizing just how small you are. Like, what is that? What's that feeling like for you?
I'll tell you 2 quick stories. The first time I launched on June 8th, 2007, we get to space. My job is to get out of my spacesuit, put my spacesuit away. And then I have to turn on the toilet in the galley where the food gets prepped. Right. And my other job was to take a leak and get dressed, because they don't want you to not take a leak because your bladder can back up because of gravity and the sensors don't act right. Right. And you don't want to have a full bladder and not be able to pee in space. Long story. But that was my first thing. When I got up to the window, when I could take a break and float up to the window and look at the Earth, it was like, oh my God. It was so bright. The sunlight just blasting on the Earth and all those colors reflecting you. You just go, oh, and then you go work. Right.
Yeah.
And you say, I want to go back there and look at that. And I want to do it when I don't have to work. Right. I want to stare. Well, then I would transfer over to the space station. And the first couple of weeks, I don't remember how long it was, but we were really, really busy. And we had a window back then. We had a window in the lab that was about the size of a basketball hoop, 18 inches. And so one day I'm looking at my laptop, which has a trajectory program that tells me where we are over the Earth and where we're going to pass over. And we're going to pass right over Lincoln. And I see that, and it's about, 30 minutes away or whatever the timing was. And I thought, oh, Lincoln, oh, Ashland, oh, Omaha. So I grab all the computer or the camera equipment I can, the lenses, the batteries. I Velcro it all to the area around that window that looks down at Earth, straight down at Earth. And I set a timer and to beep at me a couple minutes before we'd be in that part of the world. Well, then I get to figuring out, holy crap, how do I know where we are? There's no star over Lincoln on the map, and Omaha's not in bigger letters than Lincoln because it's highly populated, and the Platte River won't have italicized Platte River. How am I going to know where we are?
Yeah.
So I start thinking about that. I'm looking out the window, and of course you're traveling, looking straight down at the Earth. So you have to lean down and get really close to the window and look out the side kind of, and you get a little sense of where you are. And so then I figured out as a smart astronaut that if I looked for rivers with dams, I might be able to find the Missouri out of the Rockies in Montana, and I could follow the Missouri down to where the squiggly line goes between Iowa and Nebraska. And if I knew where the squiggly line was, I could find the south bend of the Platte River, and I could find Ashland, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do all this, and I get down in the hole, and I'm leaning down and looking and trying to figure out where we are. And I finally felt that I knew where we were traveling to. And eventually I saw the crooked line. That's the Mississippi River the Missouri River between Iowa and Nebraska. And I'm looking really hard. And all I see is this big gray blob coming at us in the window. Well, that's Omaha. It's just a big gray blob. Lincoln's a smaller gray blob, right? But I do find the south bend of the Platte River, And as we fly over that, I didn't take one single picture.
You're just looking.
No, I cried. I started crying that here I was 250 miles above the earth, the place where I grew up, where all my family, my friends, my mentors, my coaches, my teachers, everybody that helped me get to that spot, I'm flying over it. And it's like, all I could do was cry. So it goes by 5 miles every second. We weren't, right, from Omaha to Lincoln, what's that, 60 miles? So 5 miles every second. So it takes about 12 seconds. Not very long, right?
That was it.
And that was it. And I
Wow.
didn't take a picture. So then, of course, after I calmed down and my emotions were better, the next time, and I don't remember when that was, I was able to get photographs. And the one day on a Saturday when Nebraska played Texas A&M in Memorial Stadium, I took a photo of the full stadium.
Wow.
And I can show that to you before we go. But I
Yeah.
took a picture of Nebraska getting their ass handed to them by Texas A&M Aggies.
Yeah.
Texas trip.
But it's a pretty cool picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have another one, which is just after the third quarter when Memorial Stadium is totally empty.
Yeah.
That was,
Oh, God.
a joke.
Yeah. It's a joke, but come on, it's painful.
No, but so I have a picture of it full and I have a picture of it empty, which is really cool. But that was, and I have a picture of Ashland, Nebraska. And the cool thing now is that picture has the museum in the picture as well.
Wow.
Oh.
Right. In 2007, big deal. Museum. Where's the museum? But
Yeah.
now I have a picture that we actually sell in the museum that I took from space of Ashland, Nebraska, and the SAC Aerospace Museum. So
Wow. Well,
pretty cool.
It takes me back to that famous Carl Sagan quote. You look down on that little dot there. That's where everybody you've ever loved, everyone you've ever hated, all your joys, sufferings, freaking genocides, joyful things. Like there it is right there. And
Everything
it's ever existed.
And that's what's so, you go back to your original question and it's about the emotion that you experience with respect to seeing your home planet with all those things he just said. And for me, again, it strengthened my faith in God. Although I also understand that, we're all on the spaceship Earth. We're all crewmates. It doesn't matter what our nationality is. It doesn't matter what our religion is. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters except that we're all crewmates on spaceship Earth. And so if you're really a crewmate on your spaceship, you should be working together better than we are.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that as long as there's hatred and jealousy of another entity, right? Oh, I hate those people in the West. They got money. They got, I hate them. I hate them. I hate them.
Yeah.
Right. As long as you have that, you're never going to have the United Federation of Planets. And I don't know how you make that go away, but you that's what you have to do, right? You have to strive for peace everywhere. And one of the best ways to strive for peace is having a space program where the United States collaborates with Canada, and we collaborate with Japan, and we collaborate with Europe, and we collaborate with Russia. We should be collaborating with China. We collaborate with the United Arab Emirates, right? That's how you get there. That's one way. May not work, but it's one way to start the progress toward that entity, which is everybody working together.
You become humanity and not a nationality.
Right. Absolutely. And that's a long way away. I mean, holy cow, James Kirk, he's like 90. Look how long it took him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's a really cool, that show. I love that show, Star Trek, because of that part of it, right? They were discovering and utilizing sometimes as an entity, as a species, not as a country. And we can't afford to do it as a country. The world, I don't know if the world has enough money. Maybe some guy in Saudi Arabia does, but you got to have money to do this. It's expensive. And going back to the original question about SpaceX and Elon Musk, he's got this huge starship that he's building in Texas, man. And the only thing I can think of is how many bathrooms are on that. And it's an important question to me, right? He talked about taking some billionaire artist from China or Japan or something with 100 of his closest friends. And the first thing I thought of was how many toilets you got, how they work. Because, we had one, for 3 people, and then we had 2 for 13 people. So if you do the math,
imagine 100
doesn't work out well.
100 is a lot of toilets.
Yeah.
A lot of TP.
That's a lot of waste.
And what do you do then? What do you do with the waste?
I was going to say, how does that work up there?
How does that work?
Because, we bring the waste back from the space station in a can, and it burns up in the atmosphere, right? It goes into a spaceship that burns up in the atmosphere. And so all you get is little particles of poop when you're in class and you're, and you see that ray of sunshine and there's dust in it. There's probably some space poop in there.
So that's what dust is.
So that's what dust is.
I knew there was one day in middle school. I was like, that smells like clay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say, Clay, I did go to the Kennedy Space Center.
Cool place.
It was really cool. And of course, there's that one picture
Of me.
of you
Yeah.
with the Nebraska hat.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I posted, this is when we first started the podcast. I posted the picture.
You
It was like,
you
our
probably
fans are out of this
missed-
world.
You probably missed the first picture of me that you didn't see because you weren't paying attention.
Well, probably not. 'cause
Almost
I,
definitely.
I was just a normal spectator, and I was in there, and I was like, our fans are out of this world. I tweeted it.
Mm.
People liked it all over the place. And then now, full circle, you're sitting next to us. Wild.
True.
Freaking A.
If you go to your Twitter feed for Astro Clay today, you'll see the picture of a young boy giving me a high five at the Kennedy Space Center on the very first photograph of the Atlantis exhibit. And I'm going to pull it up here on my phone. This is some riveting podcast stuff right here. He's looking for a picture on his phone on the podcast.
KB, what are we at? How many viewers?
We're at
I'm
254.
Right on.
254 people are.
254 people that believe we landed on the moon, Mike.
Remember that picture?
I do.
Oh my,
That's
you?
me. You darn right.
Hey,
It even says it down below it if you can read.
I can't.
You know, when I was going to
colorblind.
the Kennedy Space Center, I did not know who Clay Anderson was.
There you
I just
go.
saw a Husker N, and immediately it sparked my interest,
it.
obviously.
Astronaut Clayton C. Anderson, Expedition 15, STS 117, 118, 120, 131, Expedition 15 and 16. So there you go.
Jesus.
You
You
ever-
couldn't
you
just
ever-
say, "Hey, these are the people that went up at this time."
All
No,
my
that was
astronaut
wrong.
buddies are mad because they want to know how come I had so many pictures of me at the Kennedy Space Center. I said I donated more money than you did.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious.
Obviously, all that alien money you won in poker, you had to
Yes.
spend it somewhere.
Converting it was tough though. Oh my gosh.
Do you ever just think to yourself, I'm kind of a badass.
Me?
You ever think-
no,
no?
He's
I'm
a humble
not
guy.
badass.
He's a humble guy.
I mean, come on, every once in a while, I'm kind of a cool,
No,
Oh, you did a spacewalk.
I did 6 spacewalks.
You did 6 spacewalks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Do you
Well,
understand that is the coolest thing I've ever heard?
I think it's cool if you're not a commander or a pilot, right? A military guy or gal, you don't ever get to fly the shuttle. And so the coolest thing to me was being able to do a spacewalk. And when I got to do 6, I'm hugely blessed. I wish I could have done some more because now with all the young astronauts that keep going back and forth to the space station all the time, they get to do EVAs all the time. So I used to be in the top 30 in the history of the world. And now I expect I'm in the top 50. I don't know if I'm in the top 40 or not because the list doesn't go that long.
I'm like in the top 8 billion.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
yeah.
Good on you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
So, real question, and I wanted to ask this. When you came back, obviously, 0 G's.
Mm-hmm.
When you came back, did you have an issue dropping stuff as you were just like walking around thinking that it would still be floating there?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. And my son will tell you that I had a baseball hat in my hand and I let go and dropped it. And then, true story, my wife made me use plastic dishes for 2 weeks because of the fear of that. But I don't know. You know, some astronauts came back from less than 5 months in space and their feet hurt. My feet never hurt. Some astronauts came back and their eyesight was worse. My eyesight was fine. Some astronauts came back and they look like they'd been poured out of a mayonnaise jar. Well, that means they didn't work out very hard. Well, I worked out every day on the space station except one. And the one day I didn't work out, I felt horrible. I felt like, oh my God, I just betrayed my country and I betrayed my physicality. I betrayed my wife, my kids. Oh my God. And I worked out every day.
How does working out work in the
So we
space?
had a treadmill.
Okay.
And the treadmill, you have to wear a harness that's chained to the base of the treadmill. So the tighter you pull the harness down, the harder it is to run, the more
gravity.
The more official it is running. And so theoretically, if you wanted to run the Boston Marathon in space, like some of the astronauts did, you could make it so you're not really running very hard.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
Liars.
I don't know if they did that, but I would have. But I didn't run. I ran enough to sweat and to feel that my legs were working. and my muscles working because I watched movies when I ran. But the bicycle, I really bicycled. It was stationary, and you could put on some pretty hard programs. So I worked out pretty hard on the bike, and then I worked out on what they called the resistive exercise device. And you guys would probably relate to the Solo Flex, the rubber band thingies.
Oh yeah.
So we had a cam that was in a can, and you pulled on the rope, and then the rope snapped back, to give you resistance. And it was okay, but it wasn't very good for me. For example, I outdid the weight in my first week. So
when you're an athlete, you're not a geek, you're an athlete.
Because I'm a stud muffin.
There it is.
And so I would have to do like triple sets of everything, which I was okay with that. It just took longer. But now they have a hydraulically driven weight machine, which is better. So some of the astronauts are coming back in better shape from space than they were when they left.
That's awesome.
And you push against the hydraulic pistons, and that's what gives you the resistance. And it's a much bigger machine, right? And it takes up a lot more space, but it's much more effective than what we used.
Huh. So was that because I've heard, and I'm no expert, you are, that bone density becomes an issue, but is it more bone density or muscle atrophy just because of less action on the muscles?
It's both.
Yeah.
You notice the muscle atrophy first, because you can't see the bone, right?
Sure.
But we had 2 guys come back from space from long duration missions. One of them was given a presentation. He was at a school, standing on the stage, and his laptop shut down or locked up or whatever. So he did the old hop off the stage, and he broke his hip.
Oh.
Hit the deck, broken hip. Another guy was riding his bike. I don't know, is it a 10 speed anymore or 100 speed? I don't know what a bike is anymore, but he was riding it and he hit a wet patch, and his bike scooted out from under him, broke his hip.
Wow.
So you may not know what your bone density is at the instant that you need to know what it is, but they assume that it's crappy and you have to build it back up. And it took me a year to be able to build my bone density back to what it was before I left. Muscles were different, right? Because I could go into the gym, and as long as I was healthy, I rehabbed for 2.5 hours every day when I got back from space. My second day, right after I got back from space, the next morning I was 15 minutes on the bike. And after that, 2.5 hours every day. And so I rehabbed in 3.5 weeks, which is way faster than most.
Incredible.
Yeah, because I took it seriously, right? Having been an athlete, I took it seriously. And so I was busting my ass, and I was tired, and I was sweaty, and I was gross, but I was getting in shape faster than, the ones that come back and say, oh, that hurts. I can't. Oh, can I stop and rest? I didn't do that. I pushed through all of it.
Because you're corn-fed.
I'm corn-fed.
Yeah.
Well, steak-fed. Steak, corn-fed.
T-bone, baby.
Yeah.
Meatloaf, baby.
And so that part went really well for me. And then I never had any issues, no broken bones or anything. My eyes didn't go bad because I apparently have a protein in my DNA that prevents me from having that, right? So that's what the scientists learned. And some guys would come back, and now they have adjustable glasses on the space station, because if your eyes deteriorate, you can change the prescription.
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about that. I never had an issue. I wore contacts when I first went up. Now I have LASIK. I'm the first active astronaut to ever get LASIK.
Oh,
but
another record. Chalk it up.
Another one.
Freaking
Just
A.
write her down.
101.
Then they made me retire. But all those things, people ask me about my health. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm having surgery tomorrow for my gallbladder because I had a pancreatitis attack, which sucked the big one.
Yeah.
And I have AFib. Well, I didn't have any of that. I'm 65. I didn't have any of that 4 years ago. So is that due in part to space? Is it due in part to my crappy diet? Is it due in part that I haven't worked out like I used to? Right. I lost 35 pounds since Father's Day.
Wow.
And it's not an Oprah Winfrey recommended diet by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to keep that weight off. And then I'm doing the medical things that the doctors are saying I need to do to, prolong my life on the planet.
Are you like covered by NASA for life for stuff, or like?
I like that response.
No. I have my health insurance is through the government, right?
Yep.
Because I was an engineer before I was an astronaut. But once you become an inactive astronaut, all bets are off.
Wow.
They want you to come back every year. They fly you back. They put you in a hotel so you can get a physical, because they want your data, right? They want their sample size to be N equals 500 versus N equals 10. And so they want that data, but then what happens is they write papers. And, I've looked at the papers and I don't really see a lot of conclusions. I just see data and I see, well, we think that this is happening, but I worry about, I've seen some of the astronauts that exhibit Parkinson's disease, but I never hear anybody talk about astronauts exhibiting Parkinson's disease. So that worries me, right? Transparency is important to me, no matter what it is. The rate of cancer is supposedly not higher in astronauts, that's exciting to know. But this eye thing is leading to optical experiments in space with microgravity so they can see what's going on. They think it's your fluid rushes to your head and it pushes against the optic nerve and that changes the shape of your whatever. I forget. I used to know more of this, but those are all things that we need to learn in space because it could help humans on the ground. I was part of an experiment with the Canadians to look at my blood pressure system, my circulatory system, my heart, and my brain, all in combo, right? And the idea was if we can figure it out what it is on Earth, they check you on Earth, they check you in space, they check you again when you get back to Earth. If they can figure things out from that, maybe they can make better pacemakers or maybe they can make better drugs, whatever it is, right? To benefit every human on the planet. That's why this is important. That's why we do it. Not just to get me my name on the paper and on TV and radio and podcasts. Yeah.
But podcast clearly the most important.
Podcast clearly.
Yeah.
But it's important that people realize that, right? Because you get a lot of people that yap at me about, I did KFAB as a substitute DJ one day for the 2 to 6 segment. And it was a blast, but some guy got on there and, what's your question, sir? And he starts ragging on NASA wasting money. And I gave him the talk about half a penny, 2 pennies, 33 pennies. I gave him all that. Of course, he wasn't talking anymore. But, people need to understand that because, when we vote and when we elect people, the space program is important to me and it should be important to everybody else for different reasons. And that one reason is because the research we do and the technology we develop will come back to help them. And that's what we should care about. We did a thing where we drink our urine in space. And we took that machine, imagine that machine, a couple solar panels to generate the electricity, and you plop it in a third world country, and they go down to one end and take a leak, and they walk around the other end and walk away with a bottle of water. So we took it to Mexico, and I believe this is a true story. And we were trying to get kids in whatever country of Mexico to drink this water. And they all had Coke. They wouldn't drink the water because they all had Coca-Cola.
Oh my God. Mexican Coke, man.
I mean,
that's the good stuff.
It's different.
But that's, think about that for a second, right?
Yeah.
We created technology that will help a third world or other countries survive and do things that they maybe can't do right now.
Yeah.
And yet the other piece of the puzzle was the commercialization of what they were drinking. And I mean, I love Coke too, but it's probably not good for you if that's your only primary beverage.
Sustenance. Yeah.
Now you guys and your beer being your primary substance of, that's okay.
That fuels a podcast.
Yeah. It's got water in it. This is just fine.
Yeah.
Well, and I know that we're kind of running up against it here, but these astronauts that are currently trapped up there in the space station. So I'm more curious about that. Just they've been up there for how many months now?
A little over 2.
Two?
Between 2 and 3.
So what's going on there? Like,
first of all, they're not trapped.
Okay.
That's just a way to get clicks and views.
Hey, we love that. I clicked.
Yeah, good for you. But Butch and Sonny are test pilots. Sonny flew naval helicopters and Butch flew the F-18 and they're test pilots. So they were chosen with that in mind when they became the Starliner test crew. And so you have to think about this in a different way too. If you're building a submarine, where's the best place to test your submarine?
In the water.
Underwater, right? If you're going to build a spaceship, where's the best place to test your spaceship?
In space.
In outer space. So when they launched, they finally got it launched. There were issues, right? They knew the issues before they launched, so they stopped, figured them out, and they finally had a successful launch. So then they rendezvous and dock with the space station. Everything's good. They dock, they go inside. Now they're in a safe haven because how long has the space station been up there? Since 2001 or something. A long time, 2000 maybe, whatever it was. It's been there a long time. So it's pretty predictable that we can survive by living there. Now you take that docked vehicle that's in the space environment and you start to test the crap out of it. Those guys on the ground, they're saying, well, you know, what if we did this? We could test this hydraulic manifold and close off this valve and maybe do this and pump some fuel through here and see what it does. Oh, yeah, great idea, Joey. Let's do it. Okay, yeah. And it works. Everything's good. So they're doing all that testing, and now they're in an environment where they can take their time because Butch and Sonny are not stranded. They're just in a way station where they're helping the space station crew. They're loving it. I know they're loving being back in space. Would I go back? Yes. How long? I don't know, but I'd go back for 2 months and I'd eat the food and play in gravity and do all those cool things. Yes. So they're up there enjoying their time. They might be a little concerned now if NASA comes out next week and says, or this week, and says, you are not going home on the Boeing Starliner. You're going to wait for Elon Musk to launch the expedition or the SpaceX 9 crew with a crew of 2, which means 2 of the other astronauts that thought they were going to space next month are having to stay home, but nobody cares about them. Right? Think about that. Nobody cares about them. They don't get to go, potentially. Mm-hmm. So 2 astronauts come up. They have to build spacesuits to fit Butch and Sonny because the spacesuits on SpaceX are not compatible with the Starliner spacesuits or vice versa. Okay, well, is that a big deal? Probably not. But they build the spacesuits. They're customized, right? They throw them in the back. They come up with 2 people. And now, instead of taking Butch and Sonny and saying, hey, we're going home tomorrow, hop in, put your spacesuits on, they say, oh, by the way, we're going to do our 6-month mission. You're going to stay up here the entire 6 months with us. How do you feel about that? And then we're going home.
Yeah.
Well, they're test pilots or astronauts. They understand their job. Mm-hmm. They're going to nod their head and say, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. We'll do the mission. The mission is critical. It's the most important thing. But in their sleep station or on the phone talking to their wife and kids or their husband, they might have a different opinion for a while. And I've been there. I know what it's like. I know when they told me in my first week I was going to go home because we burned a box. We opened a solar panel. It burned a box in the Russian segment. All their computers shut down. And NASA said, you're coming home. I just got here. Oh, you're coming home. They told my wife I was coming home. Get ready. He's coming home. But the Russians went down and they cut the wires on that box. They pulled that box out and they spliced the wires. All the computers came back up. I didn't have to go home. But when you have to prepare yourself mentally for those boxes like that, it's very, very difficult. And you get in a mindset where you have to be able to prepare. Think about the football team, the Huskers going through what they're going through right now.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, man, the season's coming. I'm so excited. We're going to kick some total butt. They thought the same thing last year, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then they got into the
something bad happens.
Yeah, something didn't go the way they wanted, but those kids are resilient and they fought their butts off. I mean, they worked harder than a lot of people I know would ever work, and they fought through it. And was it the best? No, but they're champions for pushing through that, for doing what they do every single day, knowing that, you know, things aren't going their way.
Yeah.
And that's a mindset. And this is all about mindsets in America today, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird mindsets going on in America. And I think that athletes that do the right thing, that train their booty off it. I mean, you heard about all of it through the Olympics, how hard these people worked and how Simone Biles went through a mental mix up and had to reboot herself.
Yeah.
And then she rebooted herself and look what she did.
Yep.
Right. You need more of that in the world. And these astronauts have that. They're not stranded. They could be there for a while, but I don't believe they're stranded. And I really believe that the Starliner is okay for them to take home. I really believe that. The 5 thrusters that failed, they have redundant thrusters. The helium tanks that were leaking, well, tell me how big the leak is. It's not very big, I don't think. And how many tanks are leaking, I don't know. But I'm guessing the leaks are small enough that you're going to have enough helium to pressurize the fuel to the thrusters so you can come home safely. I believe that. And that's what Boeing says to NASA. And why, I don't know, why wouldn't you believe Boeing? Oh, because their planes have doors that fly off. Well, their aircraft division is different than their space division.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm a spectator just like everybody else.
I mean, but they're working. They're up there working.
Oh, yeah.
They're fine.
And having a blast.
They're probably having a blast. They're eating their tortillas and meatloaf, and they're having a good time, right?
Yes.
I bet the food's probably better now, huh?
It is actually with all the international astronauts that would go up, for example, a Japanese or an Italian or French, they had chefs. They hired chefs to create dishes.
Wow.
Yeah. I never got that.
Yeah. Well, your meatloaf was.
It was awesome. It was all. I mean, but I did get to eat some chocolate covered espresso beans from Italy. They were they were good.
Sounds good.
But he didn't bring very many.
Didn't bring enough for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the Italian stallion. But anyway, their food is better. They get hot water and cold water. I never had cold water.
Oh,
I had warm water and hot water.
I would have assumed that you only got cold water.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Well, it comes through a system where in order to help purify it, you heat it.
Sure.
Right. So hot food, just fine. But if you had instant milk, like my wife sent me Oreos one time. So what did Clay want with his Oreos? Cold milk. I want cold milk. And imagine the Oreo floating in microgravity as I squirt a little ice cold milk around the Oreo. Surface tension would cause the milk to coalesce about the Oreo. I could fly back and then open my mouth wide and fly in and eat the Oreo in one big go. Oh, that would be so awesome.
That's
Well, it
what you
didn't work
picture
out
in your
that way.
head.
It didn't work out. It's not quite what you picture in your mind.
Because I put the milk with the water in the milk and I put it in front of an air conditioning vent and I forgot about it. And I went back about 3 days later and the milk was sour. Yeah, that was a bummer. So I didn't do that again. But I mean, it's just so cool what you can do up there and the experiences you can make for yourself. I can only imagine what Sonny and Butch are doing, having lived on the space station for as long as I did, if not longer, and dabbling, right? They're not quite as busy as the other astronauts, so they have a little more time to goof off and do creative things. It'd be a blast to be up there right now.
Okay.
They are not trapped.
No,
they are not trapped.
Don't believe the headlines.
Okay, it's a Husker podcast. We'll get you out of here with this.
Okay. I'm sorry we didn't talk more football.
No,
listen.
We talk football every Monday.
Listen,
this is
okay.
the one time, or not the one time, but this is a rare opportunity for us to actually sit down with someone who's been in space, who knows their shit. Like, we wanted to pick your brain, and we did plenty of it. So
we're at the point where we just want to see a damn game. So yes, like let's just get there. But we have you.
Yeah, you're
space,
filling,
baby.
You're filling time because we're waiting for the football season.
Oh, so I get it.
Okay.
No, you're not just filling time.
No, this is the best fill-in people could ask for. Probably out of this world. Okay. Two Husker things, and we'll get you out of here.
Okay.
The first thing I want to know is, what is your first Husker memory? You obviously cared about Nebraska enough to bring all those ends up there. What was your first Husker memory?
Wow. I guess I was young, and my dad drove my brother and myself to Lawrence, Kansas in 1972 when Johnny the Jet Rogers was still playing for the Huskers. And we sat in the, I don't know if it's the north end or the south end, because I don't know which direction we faced, but we sat in the north or the south end, right where the visitors sit. And we watched that game, and Johnny the Jet returned a touchdown, a punt return, all the way back to the end zone, our end zone. So we got to watch him come right at us. It was the most exciting thing ever. But the thing that makes it stick out in my mind, sadly enough, is there were several people from Ashland that had come to that game. And we were sitting next to a couple of brothers who would do well on this podcast in the beer drinking department.
Okay.
And one of them climbed up the stairs. We were pretty low. Climbed all the way up the stairs to go to the head and buy another beer. And then when he came out, he stood at the top of the stairs and took one step, and he fell all the way down the stairs.
Biffed it.
And of course, what's everybody doing? We didn't have cell phones, but we're all standing up and watching.
Cheering a little bit.
And it was at that point you're like, oh, that's what gravity is.
And the guy gets up and he sits down next to my dad, and my dad knew who he was, right? Because he was an Ashland guy. And he says, "Hey, Richie, what's the score?" Blah, to nothing.
Oh no.
So that was my first memory of actually going to a game. That was a pretty cool experience. I got to take my son, who was a big Husker fan. Pelini recruited him, but didn't think he was big enough. They wanted him to play offensive line, which he did at Iowa State as a center his freshman year, but then they moved him to tight end. And so he played. He didn't play a lot. He got hurt, but he played 2 years as a letterman and was first team all Big 12 academic team member twice, which is pretty cool, right?
That's really
good.
And
he got a free education. And but I remember taking him to Memorial Stadium. We played Oklahoma State. Kyle Larson was the punter. Do you remember Kyle Larson?
Oh, yes.
Sure do.
And that day, Kyle was on the cover of the magazine, the game magazine. And I was a punter in college. at Hastings College. And so we went early and watched Kyle warm up. And I just was like, how the hell does he do that? I can never do that. But then at the end of the game, they threw the little footballs during the game, and somebody caught a football, one of the adults did, and they turned and gave it to my son, who was probably, I don't know, 10 or 11. And after the game, we waited and we went down on the field and we threw the football with my son, and he ran on the AstroTurf and he just was eating it up. He was in hog heaven. Of course, he had a Nebraska jersey on. So then we finally decided it's time to leave, and we walked to the northwest corner of the stadium. Yeah, the northwest corner. And we're getting ready to cross the street to go over that overpass to find our parking car, or where we parked. And here comes Kyle Larson.
Oh, cool.
And so I went up to him and I said, hey, Kyle, would you autograph this for my son? And he whips out a Sharpie and signs it. I still have it. I have his jersey. I got a jersey later from another person who had told the story, and he got a hold of Kyle, and Kyle signed a jersey and sent it to us in Texas.
Nice.
And so that was a story that lived in my son's memory, I hope, for a long, long time. I wish he could have been a Husker. He wanted to be a Husker, but it just didn't work out that way.
Well, Iowa State's a pretty damn good college.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all. So, football has been very, very good to me. I played at Hastings. I got a half a scholarship there. I was on the Kansas City Chiefs prospect list as a punter for a while.
Ooh,
okay.
Yeah. And then I tried out for the Houston Gamblers.
Houston Gamblers.
Oh my God. That was the biggest thing. I mean, I went down there and we were in Houston, and I've been practicing my punting. I'd go to the Gilworth Recreation Center. I'd practice. And I was thinking I was pretty good, and I'm going to try out for the Gamblers. So we go to the picnic table and they give me my number and I sign in, sign the waiver, and I went and sat in the stands. And after a while, I hear the guy on the microphone, all punters and kickers report to the field for warm-ups. So I go down the field.
My time.
And they give me the ball, and I'm kicking nice little tight spiral pooch kicks, right? I'm just getting loose, right? Ready to let her fly for them when I'm ready. Just kicking spirals, right? And then about 15 minutes later, the guy on the microphone goes, okay, for all the punters and kickers, thank you for coming. We want numbers 14, 87, 36, 25, and 62. You can stay. Everybody else, see you later.
Yeah.
Wow. What? But sir, I didn't get one of my, patented 65-yard spirals go. You're supposed to be showing them, right? I had no idea. So
yeah, you just out there just putting around,
and that was the end of it.
Yeah, and that was the end of it. And I was pretty disappointed. And but I saw how big some of those suckers were. Gee, mama. And it was like when I saw Herschel Walker run the 100-yard dash at the Drake Relays when I was a senior in college, and I thought, anybody, football pads or not, that tries to get in front of that guy and stop him is an idiot. Yeah, is a total idiot. I mean, he'd kill you.
Yeah,
he was.
So those numbers that you just rattled off to stay, are those the exact numbers?
Nah, I made them up.
I was gonna say, okay. Yeah, it's like it just sticks in your mind.
No, but I did take a guy. It was funny because I learned in the USFL, which is what it was back then. There were a lot of those young guys that were just traveling the country, going to tryout camps, trying to make it big. And, I had a job at NASA, I was making 5 figures. I mean, I was doing okay and I was where I loved to be. And I just took this on a whim, and I didn't make it. So I just went back to work.
And that probably benefited you okay, because you got to go to space and do cool
Absolutely.
shit. Yeah.
It worked out just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question, and we're gonna get you out of here. What's the season prediction like for this season? What is Nebraska gonna finish?
7 or 8 wins.
Okay.
I don't know where they're going to finish because I don't understand. I don't know the big 82 as well as I used to. Right.
Yeah.
And I think what I see and hear, their quarterback room's better.
Yeah.
Even the kid that played last year that kind of threw sidearmed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Harburg.
Yeah. Which always bugged me. I would have thought somebody would have fixed that, but I liked what I saw, and, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about their defense, and I was bummed when the kid from Elkhorn got hurt, the offensive left tackle.
Yep. Teddy.
Yeah. I mean, that's a bummer, especially for him. My son tore each of his ACLs at Iowa State, right, in different years, and had to go through all that crapola to try to fight his way back. So I feel for the lineman. But I'm excited. I was always excited. I was excited last year, right? And they should have been better than they were, right? They just had a couple of those games where they couldn't finish, and it's all about finishing at that level.
Mhm.
And so I'm hoping this year that the leadership has grown, that their experience base has grown, that Rule is teaching them how to finish, and that they're going to be bowl eligible. So that would be 6, right? Is it still 6 to be
Yep.
bowl
6,
eligible?
yep.
But I don't like 6. I want 8. I want 7 or 8.
Okay.
Makes me feel more legitimate, right?
Yeah.
And I've taken a lot of crap from my friends from, oh, he's Nebraska, he's a Husker. Big man, N stands for knowledge.
Yeah.
I get all that, but when you grew up with it, and we used to listen on the radio to Lyle Bremser.
Mhm.
He gave him a hip and he took it away. It was just so much fun. And we'd go outside in the street and we'd start throwing and kicking the football around. I mean, that was what you did.
Mhm.
And I have great memories of that, and having been able to meet Tom Osborne, that doesn't suck. And Johnny Rogers, and I met the 3 Heisman guys, Eric Crouch and Mike Rozier.
Mhm.
Darren Erstadt is a friend of mine now, and none of that would have happened had I not been an astronaut. That's the gift that keeps on giving, right? They want to meet an astronaut. I want to meet them. I had dinner with Jeff Kinney the other day.
Oh, there you go.
They reach out to me and said, "Hey, Jeff Kinney wants to have dinner with you." What?
Yeah.
Jeff Kinney, number 35 of the Huskers in the national championship with a torn jersey and all.
Uh-huh.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
how cool is that? And we had dinner together.
Yeah.
I'm truly blessed.
And now you're sitting here with us. What happened?
I know.
Yeah.
And we're having dinner together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's ultimately that's the gift that keeps giving on for giving to us too. Is so you get this stupid little podcast, and all of a sudden now you're sitting down with astronauts, and you're sitting down with Heisman winners, and you're sitting down with all sorts of people that we watched growing up. And that's just the coolest thing.
I did things for Osborne, and when Jason Peter and Larry the Cable Guy had their golf tournament together.
Mhm.
And I met Jason Peter, and I met Grant Winstrom and all these guys. And it's really cool because they were my idols. And I look at them, and I think, wow, that could have been me.
Yeah. That could have been me. And then you're like, but have you ever been to space? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
They say the same thing about you.
And there are a lot more football players than there are astronauts.
Yep.
So, but it's cool. I'm truly blessed. I say it all the time. There is no one more proud to be a Nebraskan than me. I will fight for the people in this state. I will fight for this state. I will fight for my football team. I moved home after 42 years in Houston to take over a job that is turning out to be a lot tougher than I imagined. But I don't believe in failure, and I'm not going to quit until that museum is the preeminent education and innovation center in the Midwest. There's no reason why we can't be that. And I'll do everything in my power to do that. But I need all the people out here in the podcast world to, if you know a millionaire or a billionaire, have them call me.
Yeah.
Right?
I wish.
Because I can't do this by myself.
Yeah.
I need help from the community in Omaha, Lincoln, everybody, Council Bluffs. It has to be a team effort. It has to be buy-in from the people that want to see us succeed. If they don't want me to succeed, then I'm pretty much screwed. But
yeah,
I'm hoping with Nebraska's Astronaut back running this museum that they care again.
Yeah.
And they'll come because, hey, there's only one museum right now that I know of where you can maybe meet an astronaut when you go visit. There'll be another one next March in Arlington, Texas. But
so
yeah,
Clay, you talk about it needs to be this community effort, this team effort.
Mm-hmm.
What can the community do to help you?
They can go to www.sacmuseum.org. That's our website, and they can donate there. They can come to the museum and buy memberships. We have corporate memberships. We have family. We have teacher. We have individual. We have military vets. And I'm trying to change things up. I'm trying to make it different. So when you come one time, I went 25 years ago and it ain't changed since I went in there. Well, yes, it has. So come see what we've done differently. And I'm planning on keeping the change coming. We have a huge exhibit coming in January called Mission Astronaut. It's going to be awesome. We have those new simulators I talked about before that I hope will be here in September. So between September and December, you have something to come out that's brand new at the museum that you can check out. We have decent food in our cafeteria. We have a really good gift shop. It's just a cool place to come hang out. It's air conditioned, and you can come there for a couple hours. And if you do have someone a lot of people call and they want to donate their relics. They want to donate their bomber jacket and stuff. We listen to you. We talk to you. We decide if it's a worthwhile donation to our collection. But you have to realize that in order to display that stuff in the museum, it takes money to build the display, to get the storyline, to manufacture the glass cases or buy the glass cases, to make the video game that goes with the display so kids will be entertained and get involved, right? All that stuff is bigger than just walking in and seeing a bunch of dusty old airplanes, which, by the way, we sweep our airplanes annually, and the Blackbird gets swept twice a year, which didn't occur before I got there. So you know, little small things matter. When I first walked in the door, I said, okay, team, we got to keep the toilets flushing.
Yeah.
We got to keep the temperature right. And we got to keep the doors open.
These are the essentials.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, if there's anything that we can do moving forward, you just let us know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a videographer. I work for Hurrdat Sports. I do all sorts of stuff. We
Hurrdat?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do.
Hurrdat.
We do all sorts of stuff just with local businesses and stuff. So if there's anything that we can do, please just let us know.
Well, I know you're based here, but if you ever want to come out to the museum and do an episode with something, I mean, down the road, if we do something cool or Mission Astronaut shows up and you guys want to come experience Mission Astronaut and then do a podcast about it with your fans. You know, one of the displays I really want to do is a spacesuit and a football uniform.
Yeah.
Wow.
How are they different? How are they the same? How's tech involved? Right? Helmets have jumped in
They have.
technology inordinately since I was getting my head whacked into a concrete wall.
Right.
And those are cool things. And if I can create a display and a game that people can play that talk about football and space uniforms, that's cool.
That'd be really cool.
And if you haven't been out there recently, I do have paying homage to all the service academies with football uniforms from their games with Army, Navy, Army, Air Force, Navy.
Love it.
And they're all on display. The goal is to create a single display that's a locker room-esque, but it will have that Nebraska helmet with the Nebraska N in the center of the display, but then it'll have Navy, Army, Air Force. It's pretty cool.
You got the cool alternate ones?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all of them are alternate.
They're all alternates. Yeah.
So,
those
and
are
each
freaking
jersey,
sweet.
I requested a number on each jersey, and Clay, these are out of Clay's personal collection. So, the naval submarine that the Navy guys wore last year, the number is 93. Why is the number 93?
I'm not sure.
Because the USS Nebraska submarine was commissioned in 1993.
Okay.
Okay.
And Indomitian Sue's number was 93.
Oh,
Yeah. That'll do.
Okay.
That'll do. Can't hate the logic there. Yeah.
And the one from the Navy game when they had the helmets with the astronaut on the side.
Yeah. Those are sweet.
Those are really sweet, right? We have that one.
Okay.
The jersey number's 15 because I flew on Expedition 15 to the International Space Station.
And Tommy Fraser.
And Tommy Fraser. And we have
Right.
You guys are good.
Oh, come on.
This guy.
Well, now that you revealed the Sue thing.
But you won't get this one.
Okay.
So I went to the U.S. Military Academy, right? That was the hardest uniform to get because they're not part of the Air Force. So SAC is submarines, bombers, and missiles. That's the SAC triad, right? Boomers, missiles, and bombers.
Mhm.
So it was easy to get Air Force and Navy, but I went to the U.S. Military Academy and trying to get a uniform that mattered to SAC. Well, it's hard to do because they're not part of SAC, but I found what I wanted. So their infantry division, the big red one. So I have that jersey and helmet, and that jersey number is 46. Anyone?
Frank Soldier?
Anyone?
No, he's 45.
Yeah, it's 45.
Anyone?
Ben Eisenhart.
No.
46.
Ben
46.
Eisenhart,
46.
I think I played at Hastings with Dave Eisenhart. Might have been his brother or cousin.
Maybe.
But
46.
46.
Eric Martin.
Going once.
Shoot.
Don't try
No,
twice. That's the year that SAC was conceived.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay. We're going Huskers.
I know you were going Huskers.
Yeah.
I threw you off.
That's
there.
all you know.
I threw you off. But that's the kind of stuff that, right? It's football country. So
I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm paying homage to the military by having uniforms and they sent me gloves and one guy sent me shoes and I have all the helmets and jerseys. So that was primary. And then we got other stuff. So come
That's
check us
awesome.
out. Everybody out there in the podcast, Carly.
Hey,
Carly, come check us out.
She actually just
She
sent
hung
me.
off.
She just
She hung
sent,
off.
No, she just sent me a picture of her and her friend and your guys' little astronaut.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
that's adorbs. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Well, Clay,
nice.
I think having you here has revealed to a lot of people and hopefully convinced Michael Delaware over here that we need the place like the Sac Museum to stay open.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, we
To,
do.
to
Yeah.
educate the people out there
Yeah.
about space and the moon landings and stuff like that. We need places like this to stay open.
We got to have a moon exhibit at SAC, so you can educate
Eventually,
people.
we entertain, educate, and inspire.
There it is.
3 E's.
There are 3 E's.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Inspire.
there's an I.
Inspire. Inspire.
Oh my God! Where did he go to high school?
No, I'm a teacher.
He's a teacher.
I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
And
what's
I'm really good at
crazy.
spelling, just not in those 2 seconds.
Uh-huh.
I swear. Well, hey, go follow Clay at Astro Clay.
Mhm.
I mean, you have like 80,000 on Facebook, and like what Twitter pops off for you.
55,000 on Twitter.
Yeah,
But who's
like,
counting?
That's not very many.
More than I've got.
Well,
And Twitter didn't exist when I flew in space. So a lot of these guys that flew in space when Twitter came on, right? They had a Twitter account while they were in space.
Oh, and they were tweeting from space.
And when I went back the second time in 2010, I had to tweet by sending an email to the ground, and then they would convert it into a tweet and send it out on my account. So I couldn't do it live, even though they had internet, but it was really slower than dial-up. So it wasn't worth the effort. But I love my fans. I will respond to you if I can, right? Since I don't have
sure do.
8 million span. Yeah,
A.
I respond.
if you don't respond to us, he'll respond to you.
Sometimes to the detriment of my never mind.
We knew where you were going. Stop, Clay.
But I try to be transparent. I try to be honest and straightforward, and call people out if I need to or I think I need to.
Love it.
Like people that think that we didn't go to the moon and
Yeah.
that the Earth is flat.
Or
Not a flat earther. That's
I'll be
stupid.
traveling to California tomorrow to Los Angeles to do another moonwalking space episode filming to make people believe it's real.
Yeah. Haven't lost a step.
after your surgery.
After my surgery. But,
Yeah.
but just remember, there's so many people that worked on the space program still do that it's really hard to get all those people to agree to lie at the same time.
That's what I said.
400,000 people.
It's a lot of people.
Got those good perks.
Somebody will blurt out, "We really went," or "We didn't go,"
Or we didn't go.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not happening.
you guys
that
are all
takes-
right.
Hey,
We
hey,
try to be.
Yeah, we
You're pretty-
appreciate you.
you're pretty cool yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
He's a guy that knows his way around the microphone a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I'm
And
happy,
around the
he
globe.
does. Happy to
Boom.
come back if you ever need fill in.
next
filler.
time we'll come back to you at SAC.
Oh, that'd be
And
cool.
we'll do something fun with all the cameras.
Yeah.
Promote the crap out of it.
That'd be
Yeah, we'd
that'd be
love to.
good.
Yeah. So
I think that hopefully we'll have the simulators there, and you can do a couple of them are space based. You can climb Mount Everest or go over Mount Everest on one of them. You can do Tutankhamun, the Egypt thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got what you meant.
There's the pyramids. I took a picture of them from space too, which is really cool.
Wow.
So
Yeah, you'll have to show us those pictures that you were talking about.
I will.
Hey, again, Clayton Anderson, first astronaut from Nebraska.
only astronaut.
Only.
Yeah.
Well, first, hey, you never know, right? You could inspire the next
But
astronaut.
as of right now,
Let's fix that, youngsters.
That's
Yeah.
right. Keep that museum open. Go follow us at nbnrpodcast.com, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We're trying to get to 800 on YouTube. So trying to get those tats for Mike and I
That's
guess
at
the
a-
rest of us.
that's at 1,000.
I know, but step by step.
Okay.
Let's get to 800.
That's right.
Yeah, I ain't getting tattoos today.
One small step for man,
One big
giant
tattoo
leap
for
for
Mike
NBNR.
Yes, that too. All right. Are we good?
Yeah, let's sign
Let's
off.
do it.
Okay.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
Thank
It's been
you.
a blast.
I'm one of your hosts, Jared Hall.
Mike Delaware.
Connor Cavlack.
Kyle Byers.
And your name.
Oh, Astro Clay.
As always, the moon landing happened. Beat UTEP.
All right, Houston, signing off. Over.
And GBR.